The starship's silver path floated quietly above the green clouds of planet Varus. Inside the guest wing, dim lights glowed along the walls, casting soft gold reflections on the smooth metal floor. The air smelled of something sweet like alien. Flowers mixed with warm spice. Evan, a young human diplomat, stood outside the chamber door. He had never been this nervous before. His palms were sweaty, and his heartbeat raced. The council had sent him to build peaceful ties with the Varen, a powerful alien species known for their beauty, strength, and strict customs. He wasn't expecting tonight's meeting, and he definitely wasn't prepared for what would follow. He straightened his black uniform, took a breath, and stepped into the room. What he saw made him freeze. The Varen woman stood near the center of the room, tall and graceful, her long silver hair flowed down her back like a waterfall, and her violet eyes watched him carefully. Her skin shimmered softly under the lights, smooth and marked, with fine glowing lines that moved like gentle waves, and she wasn't wearing anything. Evan's breath caught in his throat. He turned away quickly, raising a hand to shield his eyes. "So sorry," he said, panicking. I thought I was expected for a formal meeting. I didn't mean to intrude." A soft laugh came from behind him. It was warm, not mocking. Calm, not cruel. "You are not intruding," the woman said, her voice gentle and musical. "You were expected, and this is the custom." Evan blinked. "Custom?" "Yes," she replied. "When a Varen woman chooses to trust a human, she removes the armor of formality. We do not hide. We stand open, so there are no lies between us." Evan hesitated. He turned slowly, keeping his eyes on her face. She made no move to cover herself, no sign of shame. In fact, she stood with quiet pride, unafraid and open. I didn't know," he whispered. "Your people cover what we reveal," she said. "But I learned from your messages. You fear exposure. We see truth in it." He nodded slowly. "Still, I wasn't ready. This is all new to me." She stepped closer just one small step. Not threatening, not seductive, just present. "I am Lyra," she said, "chosen speaker of the Varens. Heart, I have read every word you sent. I listened to every voice message. I watched how you spoke with my elders." He swallowed. "And I saw no fear, no lies. You spoke with care. You looked past power and saw people. That is rare." Evan's nervousness started to fade, just a little. Her calmness was like a soft blanket wrapping around him. "I'm Evan," he said finally. "I'm not special, just someone trying to help." "To help," she repeated. "And yet you stand there shaking, as if I might harm you." He smiled weakly, not from fear, just surprise. Lyra tilted her head slightly, then reached to the side. A long, smooth robe lay folded on a chair. She wrapped it around her shoulders, not out of shame, but kindness. "Then let us begin again," she said softly. "I will wear this for your comfort, not mine. And you will sit, and we will talk not as rulers or diplomats, but as two who wish for peace." Evan sat down across from her, still unsure what to say. The silence between them wasn't heavy. It was soft. Curious dots she poured. 2 glasses of clear blue liquid from a small pitcher. "Our meeting does not begin with war plans or trade offers," she said. "It begins with questions. Who are you, Evan? What do you love? What do you fear?" He took the glass and looked into her eyes. In that moment, he didn't see, just an alien leader. He saw a person who wanted to understand, and maybe, just maybe, someone who already did. Evan took a sip from the glass. The liquid tasted strange like cold sunlight and mint. It sent a soft warmth through his chest, calming his nerves. Across from him, Lyra sat with quiet grace. The robe she wore was thin, more symbolic than anything, but Evan appreciated the gesture. Her eyes never left his, glowing faintly violet in the low light. He felt like he was being studied, not judged, but understood. "Why me?" he asked, finally breaking the silence. "Your people have spoken to many humans. Why invite me into this room?" Lyra tilted her head. "Because you did not speak for Earth. You spoke to us." He frowned. "What's the difference?" "Most humans who visit talk with pride, with demands. They speak of what they want. You listened. You asked about our food, our children, our stories. That is how trust is made." Evan didn't know what to say to that. He had just been curious. Growing up, he'd always loved reading alien histories, especially the smaller, personal ones. He'd never expected that kindness to mean anything here. Lyra leaned forward. "You called us beautiful in one of your notes." Evan's ears turned. "Red. I did. You said our eyes looked like forgotten stars, and our voices sounded like rain in a dream." He groaned softly. "I didn't know your translators picked that up." "They did," she said, smiling, "and no one has ever described us that way before." Evan ran a hand through his hair, embarrassed. "I just wrote what I felt. I never meant for that to be formal." "It wasn't," she said. "That's why it mattered." For a while, neither of them spoke. The air between them was soft, filled with quiet understanding. Then Lyra stood and walked to the wall. A panel opened, revealing a wide display. She tapped it, and images began to appear, scenes from Varan life. Children playing with glowing orbs. Elders weaving silk made from crystal threads. Soldiers dancing with partners, not practicing war, but bonding through rhythm. "This is who we are," she said. "Not what the galaxy calls us." "I never thought you were monsters," Evan replied. "The news talks about your war fleets. But I've read the old treaties. I know you fought only when you had to." Lyra turned, her face more serious now. "We did, and we lost many. That's why peace matters." He stood and moved beside her. The screen shifted to a photo he had sent, a picture of Earth's forests, golden in the fall. "You sent this," she said, "and told us leaves fall, to make room for spring." Evan nodded. "Yeah, it was something my grandfather always said." "Do humans fall too?" she asked softly. He blinked. "What do you mean? When your people suffer loss? Do they still believe spring will come?" Evan looked at the image. "Sometimes no, but we keep going anyway. That's what makes the next spring possible." She stared at him for a long time. Then she said, "I want to learn more about Earth, not just from books or reports, but from you." He smiled. "I want to learn about you too." Lyra looked unsure for the first time. "But your people will leave. This treaty is temporary." "It doesn't have to be," he said quietly. She glanced at him, eyes searching. "Would you stay?" "I don't know what's coming," he admitted. "But if peace needs a human voice, I'll be here." Lyra placed a hand gently on his arm. "Then let us make a promise." "To what?" he asked. "To speak as people, not species. To choose kindness over fear. To walk this path together, not as diplomats, but something more." His heart thudded. He didn't know where this was going, but he knew one thing. He wanted to see where it led. Asterisk, the next morning came, with a soft hum as the silver path orbited slowly around Varus. Evan sat on the balcony outside his quarters, looking at the blue clouds below. The sky shimmered in soft colors, like melted gemstones, as two moons glided above the horizon. He couldn't sleep. Lyra's words still echoed in his mind. Not as diplomats, but something more. He didn't fully understand what she meant. Was she talking about friendship, trust, or something deeper? Evan wasn't sure, but his heart felt warmer than it had in years. A soft knock came at his door. He turned. "Come in." Lyra stepped inside, dressed in a simple gray tunic. No jewelry, no crown, just herself. "You didn't come to breakfast," she said gently. "Didn't feel hungry," he admitted. "Too much on my mind. Because of last night?" Evan nodded. Lyra sat beside him on the stone bench. Her eyes watched the clouds with him, calm and quiet. "Your words were true," she said, "but your silence now speaks even louder." He looked at her, confused. "You feel something, but you don't know what to do with it," she added. "Yes," he said simply. "I've worked for years to become a diplomat. I trained to speak carefully to avoid mistakes. But last night, I didn't feel like a diplomat. I felt like a man talking to someone who saw me, not just my uniform." Lyra turned her face toward him. "I did see you, and I chose not to look away." Evan's throat tightened. Lyra continued, her voice low and steady. "In our culture, when two hearts begin to lean toward one another, we don't wait. We don't pretend not to feel. We open the door and step through together." Evan's fingers trembled slightly. "And what do you see when you look at me? A human who listens before he speaks, who respects before he judges, who sees beauty without demanding it for himself." He looked down, unsure what to say. She reached out and gently touched his hand. "May I show you something?" He nodded. She stood, then motioned him to follow. Together, they walked through the curved halls of the ship. Her people nodded as she passed, some surprised to see her walking with a human, others offering respectful glances. They stopped in front of a sealed door. Lyra placed her hand on the panel, and it slid open slowly with a soft hiss. Inside was a glowing chamber filled with light. It wasn't a throne room or meeting hall. It was a garden. Floating orbs of water hovered in the air, keeping tall silver. Plants alive, strange flowers bloomed from glass vines. The floor was soft and warm like moss, and a gentle breeze brushed past them, even though no windows were open. "This is the heart room," she said. "Only the royal family may enter, except when we choose to share it." Evan stepped inside slowly, eyes wide. "It's beautiful." Lyra touched one of the floating orbs, and it moved toward her. She whispered a word, and it began to sing softly notes that sounded like wind through leaves. "When I was a child," she said, "I dreamed of walking here with someone who saw me, not my position." He looked at her fully now. Her face wasn't guarded. Her strength wasn't hiding fear. She stood there not as a ruler, not as a mystery, but as someone offering a piece of herself. He stepped closer. "I see you, Lyra," he whispered, "and I won't turn away." The song from the orb grew softer, more tender. Then Lyra spoke again. "You may stay as a guest, or choose to walk this path with me." Evan knew what she meant. This wasn't politics anymore. It was something more ancient, more personal. He nodded slowly. "I'll walk with you." And in that glowing chamber, under the soft breath of alien flowers, something shifted between them like two stars finding orbit. Asterisk, the hours after Evan's promise passed gently. He and Lyra spent the day walking through the inner chambers of a silver path. No guards followed them. No advisors interrupted. For the first time, Lyra walked without a title, and Evan without duty. They laughed. They touched glowing leaves that closed when whispered to. They ate together in a quiet room, where soft lights changed color with every bite. Lyra taught Evan how to hold the thin spiral utensils Varen used, and Evan showed her how humans used spoons. She laughed when he spilled the sweet red sauce on his shirt. It didn't feel like a treaty. It felt like trust. That evening, Lyra invited him to a private gathering held once each cycle, a gathering of stories. The chamber was round. the floor covered with layered silks. Viren nobles and scholars sat in a circle, eyes glowing softly in the dim blue light. There were no weapons, no ranks, just voices. Each person shared a story. One noble spoke of his first space flight and how he cried when stars filled his vision. A scholar described her fear when she fell into a dark canyon and the voice that guided her out. One by one, the stories came. Some were funny, some were sad, but all were honest. Then it was Evan's turn. He sat up straight and cleared his throat. "I'm not sure if my story is special," he began, "but it stayed with me." The room listened. "When I was 12, my brother and I got caught in a storm. We were on a mountain trail, just hiking for fun. But the clouds rolled in fast, and the wind almost knocked us off the path. We couldn't see anything. Just noise. Just fear." He paused. "I thought we were done. I sat down and waited. But my brother stood up and started shouting, singing even. He said, 'If the storm's going to kill me, it's going to hear me first.'" Lyra smiled. "He pulled me up. We kept moving, yelling and laughing into the wind, and somehow we found our way back." He looked around. "I guess the point is, sometimes you can't wait for the fear to pass. You have to move through it with someone beside you." The room was quiet. Then a soft note played, a sign of honor in Varen culture. One by one, the Varen placed their palms to their chests. A sign of acceptance. After the gathering, Lyra walked beside him again, her voice soft. "That story, why haven't you shared it with your own people? They wouldn't care," he said. "It's too simple, but it speaks truth," she replied. "Even among stars, storms come, and sometimes we just need someone to shout into the wind with us." They stopped outside Evan's chamber. For a long moment. Neither of them spoke. Then Lyra reached for his hand. "If you enter this door tonight," she said slowly, "you do so as more than guest. You enter as someone bound not by title, but by heart." Evan's breath caught. She wasn't just offering company. She was offering something deeper. A bond between two souls from different worlds. He opened the door. The room was dim. Candles, real ones, not artificial light, glowed along the edges. The bed was large, with soft sheets made from a material that shimmered with heat and comfort. A table stood in the corner, with a single flower in a silver bowl. Lyra stepped inside. And again, she began to remove her robe, not for formality, but for truth. But this time, Evan didn't turn away. He stepped toward her, not out of hunger or desire, but connection. And as their hands met in the quiet light, it was clear this wasn't just diplomacy. This was the beginning of something powerful. Evan awoke to soft warmth and silence. The chamber was calm. No alarms, no voices. Just the gentle glow of early light spilling through the thin crystal windows. Beside him, Lyra lay peacefully asleep, her silver hair spread across the pillow like starlight. He studied her face, calm, steady, without the heavy mask she wore in public. Here, she wasn't a speaker for the Varen people. She wasn't a symbol of alien diplomacy. She was just Lyra. And somehow, that meant more to him than anything else. Evan sat up, letting the sheet fall from his chest. The air in the room smelled faintly of blooming flowers, and the soft oils she had rubbed into his hands the night before, part of a Varen tradition for building closeness. His thoughts drifted. This wasn't how he had expected his mission to go. Earth had sent him to negotiate trade routes, defense agreements, and maybe some cultural exchanges. Not this, not love. He stood quietly, pulling on a soft robe that had been left for him. As he stepped out onto the balcony, the view nearly stole his breath. Varese floated far below, covered in silver forests and glowing lakes. 2 suns were rising, casting golden shadows across the clouds. Lyra's voice came from behind him, soft but clear. You left the warmth. He smiled without turning. I wanted to see your world with my own eyes again. It's even more beautiful in the morning. She stepped beside him, resting her hand lightly on his arm. So are you. Evan laughed softly. I don't think humans look their best after waking up. I disagree, she said. You look honest. They stood in silence for a while, just watching the light shift. Then Lyra spoke again. My people will question this. I figured, Evan replied. They will say I am too close, that I've opened myself to danger. Evan turned to her. Do you believe that? No, she said. But they fear change. Always have. Even beauty scares them when it comes from something new. Evan nodded. Earth's not that different. She looked at him, her expression serious. And we must choose what we face. Fear ... or hope. He met her gaze. Hope. A knock came at the outer door. Lyra turned slightly, then pressed her palm to a nearby panel. The door opened, and a young Varen guard entered. His eyes quickly dropped when he saw them together. Apologies, Speaker. You're needed. In the Grand Chamber. There's news. Lyra's expression shifted, at once professional, alert. What kind of news? The guard hesitated. A human fleet has entered orbit. They say they've come to retrieve the diplomat. Evan's heart sank. Already? He asked. I thought I had another week. Lyra's voice grew colder. They did not inform us. That is not how allies behave. Evan placed a hand on her arm. They don't know what happened here. They think I was just doing my job. The guard added carefully. They also brought weapons. A show of power, they said. Lyra's eyes darkened. Then they came with distrust. Evan stood tall. Then let me speak to them. Lyra turned back to him, her voice calm but firm. Not as a diplomat. You will speak as my chosen. Evan blinked. Are you sure? She nodded. Last night sealed a bond. It's not something we undo when things get difficult. He smiled. Then I won't hide from it either. They dressed in silence, side by side. Lyra wore her ceremonial white robes, while Evan chose a simple dark uniform with a silver pin no rank, just a symbol of Earth and Varen unity. As they walked through the corridor, Varen officials and guards turned to watch. Whispers followed, some of approval, some of shock, but none of it stopped them. They walked together step by step toward the chamber where Earth's warship commanders waited, toward whatever came next. The Grand Chamber was filled with tension. On one side stood the Viren delegates tall, graceful, their glowing eyes calm but watchful. Lyra stood among them, dressed in white robes of the high family. Her face was calm, but her hands were folded tightly. On the other side were 3 human officers from the warship Victory. Their uniforms were sharp. Their voices were clipped and cold. And in the center, under the full lights of the chamber, dome stood Evan. He wasn't used to being the one questioned. You were sent to open trade, said Commander Brooks. Not to engage in. He paused, struggling for the right word. Intimate diplomacy. I didn't plan for this. Evan said clearly, but it happened. And I won't pretend it didn't. The human officers exchanged glances. You slept with an alien leader, the second officer snapped. Do you understand what that looks like back home? I understand exactly what it looks like, Evan said. It looks like peace. It looks like trust finally being real. Brooks narrowed his eyes. We have orders to return you to Earth. The fleet is on standby. Are you refusing? Before Evan could speak, Lyra stepped forward. Evan is under Varen protection now, she said calmly. He is not your prisoner. One of the officers scoffed. That's not how it works. He's still human. Lyra's eyes narrowed. He is ours by Varen law. He accepted our bond. Do you wish to disrespect that in front of our people? The room fell quiet. Evans stepped between them. Listen, no one has to fight here. Let me speak plainly. He looked at the Earth officers. I came to Veris to build a bridge, and I did. Not with papers or weapons, with truth, and yes, with heart. Asterisk Brooks raised a brow. Are you saying you've fallen in love with her? Evan didn't flinch. Yes. Lyra's eyes softened. The officers stood in awkward silence. For a moment, nothing was said. Then a new voice echoed from the chamber wall. Commander Brooks, said the Admiral's voice over the communication screen. Stand down. The officers turned, surprised. The Admiral, a stern older woman, looked directly at Evan. We've reviewed your reports, and we've seen the transmissions from the Varen Council. You did what we sent you to do, and more. She paused. You earned something we couldn't get with fleets or threats. Real trust. Earth won't tear that apart. The tension broke. Brooks gave a small nod and stepped back. The Admiral continued. We'll remain in orbit for now, but the rest is up to you. Earth won't interfere further. Evan let out a long breath. Lyra stepped beside him, her hand brushing his dot as the human officers left the chamber. The Viren delegates turned to Lyra. A tall elder stepped forward. You have made your choice, Lyra. There will be questions, many. She bowed her head. Then, let them come. And this human, the elder added. You trust him with more than just words? She nodded. I trust him with my future. The elder looked at Evan. Then he must take the Varen vow. Evan straightened. What does it mean? The elder smiled faintly. It means you walk beside her not just in private, but in all things. It means you bind your path to hers. You carry her honor, and she carries yours. Evan looked at Lyra. She didn't say a word, but in her eyes, he saw hope. And something more. He turned back to the elder. I accept. Lyra's hand tightened in his. The chamber slowly cleared, leaving only them standing beneath the high dome. You didn't have to do that, she said softly. Yes, I did, he replied. Because I don't want to leave? She leaned into him. Then let's not waste another moment. Outside, the suns had fully risen. Inside, something far brighter had just begun. Asterisk, a week had passed since. Evan took the Viren vow. The stars above Veris burned brighter than ever as the final ceremony began. The great halls of the Silver Path were alive with music, color, and laughter. Alien lights danced in the air, and sweet scents filled the corridors, flowers blooming from heat, fruit warmed by sound, and glass wind chimes playing songs in the breeze. Evan stood quietly at the edge of the main platform, dressed in silver ceremonial robes stitched with glowing thread. The Viren symbols across his chest marked him not as an outsider, but as someone bonded, someone chosen, someone loved. Across from him, Lyra appeared through the arched doors, dressed in deep blue, her silver hair braided with starlight crystals. Her eyes locked on his. No fear, no hesitation, only truth. The music faded. The hall grew silent as she stepped closer, each step slow and graceful. When she reached him, they stood together in the center of the room. The elder Varen keeper of old traditions raised a hand and spoke. Before, U.S. stands one born of Veris, the elder said, and one born of Earth, two lights from distant stars, two hearts who now walk as one. Evan felt Lyra's hand slip into his. You were once strangers, the elder continued, but found each other not through power or need, but through choice. That is rare. And rare things are not to be taken lightly. Lyra turned to him, her voice soft but clear. Asterisk, when I first saw you, she said, you wore fear like armor. But I looked closer and saw not weakness, but care. When I first heard you, Evan replied, I expected orders. But I heard questions. You didn't speak to my title. You spoke to me. She smiled. I still do. The elder raised a glowing orb between them. Do you both speak truth and vow to walk this path with open eyes, even when the way is uncertain? I do, Lyra said. I do, Evan echoed. The orb glowed bright and vanished into the air. The crowd let out a soft, respectful haname. Varying way of showing joy. And then it was done. Lyra leaned forward, her forehead resting gently against Evan's. It was the Varin gesture of unity. Deeper than any kiss. From that moment on, he wasn't just a visitor. He was family. Later that night, Evan and Lyra stood on a small viewing platform above the ship, looking out at the galaxy. A quiet hum vibrated under their feet as the silver path slowly turned in orbit. The stars stretched around them like a glowing sea. Behind them, the celebration continued, dancing, singing, and shared joy from both humans and Viren. But they had slipped away, just the two of them. This started in a room, Evan said, smiling, and now we have the whole galaxy watching. She laughed gently. Let them watch. Let them learn what peace really looks like. He nodded. No one expected this. Not Earth, not your people. No, she agreed. But sometimes the most powerful bonds are the ones no one sees coming. Evan looked at her, his voice more serious. Do you think it'll last? Not just us, but this peace, this new path? She took his hand and placed it on her chest, over the steady beat of her heart. As long as we keep choosing it, yes. He wrapped his arms around her, pulling her close as the stars turned above them. There were no battles here, no grand speeches, no deals signed in shadow. Just two hearts, one human, one alien standing together in a galaxy that had once been full of fear and silence. Now it echoed with something new. Hope.